Hi, everyone. Welcome to our hopefully final Zoom virtual opening reception, maybe final ever, fingers crossed. Um, Many of you have been to past 6x6 opening receptions. So of course, this one will be a little different. Um, it's always my pleasure to kick off this exhibition. This is year 14 for 6x6. And as many of you know, it's an incredible project that has become a real tradition here at RoCo. And it's a big part of our summer program for sure. And we have international participation and community participation, so many different fun community building elements. So it's a real important part of, I think, the RoCo summer tradition now. Um, and sadly, as many of you know, last year we were closed all summer. We didn't even install 6x6. The walls were white and empty for about 6 months. So 6x6 is installed. Behind me, what you see is actually a virtual backdrop, but it's a virtual backdrop of this year's installation. So we took a nice photo and we put that up behind me. I'm in a quiet place, so that the audio wasn't a problem. And yeah, we're just so thrilled that 6x6 is back. We're up, we're open. We've had visitors. We are surrounded here by artworks from 45 US states and 43 countries, which is terrific participation, all things considered. And the exhibition will be open to the public through July 18th for everyone to come by and visit us on East Avenue. And my key messages today as the director of RoCo, as someone who's welcomed crowds and visitors in for 14 6x6s, annual 6x6s. So my key message here is gratitude. First and foremost, I want to thank all of the artists who contributed artworks from those 45 states and 43 countries. We literally had thousands of artists from around the world sit down and make us a little something, whether they're using a medium that they're familiar with, or they're trying something new, or it's even the first time they've made an artwork. They sat down, they made us something, they sent it to us, they gave it to us out of their own generosity, for the express purpose of raising funds to support our organization. So my first thank you is always dedicated to the artists. Second, I want to thank all of you who are not just artists, but your fans. Many of you have participated in 6x6 annually or almost annually since the beginning. Many of you have been close to 6x6 as we've developed the project. And some of you have cheered the project on year after year. You've invited your friends or your family or others to participate. You pay admission, you come to the opening, you purchase artworks, and some of you have even sponsored the exhibition. So today we're going to hear from many of you, and you'll be not just telling us about 6x6, but you'll be telling us specifically what inspires you to participate, to make artworks, and hopefully tell us about another artwork that you've seen in the exhibition that inspires you. So third, I want to thank our underwriters and our sponsors. This exhibition accounts for about 20% of our annual budget here at RoCo. Each artwork purchase, each admission, each sponsorship donation raises funds to support our future exhibitions. Just earlier today, I was outside helping an artist named Ong Sirifasut install his new mural on the side of our building. It's projects like that that are funded through 6x6. The proceeds from the art sales benefit our next year of programming. So thank you to our underwriters. This exhibition just would not be possible without their support. And fourth, and lastly, but arguably most important, I really want to recognize our small but mighty team here at RoCo. We have an incredible staff of volunteers and staff who've worked incredibly hard to put up the exhibition this year. and last year and every year. Of course, the pandemic has caused many changes, which end up, kind of impacting most the staff. We are the ones, and they're the ones who have to pivot and adjust and figure out a new way to do this or a new way to do that. But it's been absolutely seamless. And I'm so grateful for Alyssa, Jess, Katie, Carrie, Claudia, Jeffrey, Chris, John, and so many others. This exhibition, almost more than anything we do, is truly built on volunteer effort and generosity in artworks and in contributions of helping us install the show. So on to just a quick message about purchasing. Last year was a challenge for RoCo, to say the very least, as it was for many, many organizations. We're fortunate. We survived. We pivoted. We adjusted. We're doing okay. We have many, many generous supporters. So we're hanging in there. But it's critical for us this year. A successful 6x6 this summer will help us recover from the budget impacts of last year, will help us balance our budget. And so please, I want to invite all of you to purchase an artwork, of course, encourage your friends to do so, and help us reach our goal of 1,500 artworks sold this year. And we just kicked off those sales today at 4 o'clock. It's really fun. It's a little bit different. There's no crowd in the gallery, but it's really fun to just see these orders coming in one after another after another. Some people are buying 2 artworks. Some people are buying 20 artworks. So it's really quite exciting. Some of you may even have, exercised your early access codes and purchased artworks. If any of you who are on the call today on the Zoom have questions about how to purchase, or you're having any challenges with the process, just pop a question in the chat, and my wonderful colleagues, Alyssa or Jess or Katie, will be on the Zoom, on the chat, or sitting by the phone and ready to help anyone who is listening in and having a challenge. So thank you, everyone, again. Our vision for this next hour and a half is sort of to replace the casual but interesting conversations that you might have or overhear at an opening reception. You might overhear an artist describing their own artwork, their own inspiration, or you might overhear someone who just bought an artwork explaining why they chose it and what they like about it or what it reminds them of. So we have invited all of you here to say a few words about 2 artworks each, give or take, and share what has inspired you to be involved with 6x6, what you found within 6x6 that continues to inspire you. So I'm looking forward to this for sure. And I know you all will join me. It's wonderful to be on this call. It's wonderful to have this event, but join me, fingers crossed, next year we'll all be in the space together, face-to-face, live, and having a real crowded opening reception once again. So thanks again for joining us tonight. And please join me in welcoming our first speaker, our friend, and our neighbor here downtown, Catherine DaCosta.
Catherine, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll just say, I am glad to be a neighbor, glad to have RoCo right around the corner from me. And I remember when the first 6x6 happened, there was a questionnaire asking, should we continue this? And of course, I was one of those who said, why, yes. And well, here it is. And not only, I have a grandson, and it's so nice to be able to introduce him to all kinds of artwork. Sometimes we just stroll through. It's just a nice, pleasant outing to come through. And we've been on the, with artists, everybody, all the artists of RoCo having their things exhibited. And I put a sticker on a favorite one. My grandson chose a favorite one. So anyway, oh my gosh, thank you, Blue. Thank you all the staff and volunteers there who keep all RoCo so exciting. Now for my one, it's so many. I mean, you two, and then I heard Blue say two, give or take. I said, oh, I could have done more, but anyway, I said, oh my gosh, how can I narrow it down just to two? It's nearly impossible. But I chose this one because I thought it just looked so much like the world. It could be a dish from Asia. Don't ask me what country, but it could be European. Don't ask me again which region exactly. It could be something from maybe a vegan restaurant right here in Rochester. It was just such a pretty thing. And I imagine what I probably was hungry when I was looking at this. And I was looking to see now what could that sauce be made of? What kinds of spices were in there? And it just was an intriguing piece. So that's one of the ones I chose. And I liked all the colors in it. And if I was one to have artwork in my kitchen, maybe I would have that. Oh, I know, there was a question asked, have you ever purchased one? Well, actually, no. I am a member of RoCo, longstanding, but have I ever purchased one? No, but my mother did because she purchased something that my grandson had done. So I still have that one. And see, and now we could, of course, said we could do our own. So I did my own. And you might look and think, what is this? Well, for the past few years, I've just been on my 6x6. I just write anything that comes to mind, things I may not say out loud anyplace else, or I'm not saying it out loud then, but I just write and write and write and write all kinds of secrets and thoughts that I wouldn't just share on somebody says, how are you? I wouldn't share these things, but I just write and write and write and write and write and write and have a delightful time submitting my secrets. And I thought maybe I could have put a border around it. And I think in past years I have done that. And this year my daughter suggested that maybe I do that. But I said, no, I'm just going to leave it blank. And now looking at it, I think, yeah, a border probably would have helped it. But I had great fun. And I've always encouraged my family to participate, had 6x6 available to hand out. And I think my grandson has one in there, and my daughter and my son and friends. And I've also taken people into RoCo. And I think, oh my gosh, that $2 exhibit fee, wow, that makes it so affordable for everybody. So thank you, RoCo. Thank you. I don't know, did I take up not enough time? It's there, but that's it. Oh, and the
Perfect, Catherine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And we love having you as a neighbor and appreciate all your kind words.
Well, thank you. It's just delightful. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this.
Okay, we'll see you soon when we're back up and open. And we're
Indeed.
going to pass the mic to Juan Pedreguero. Juan, welcome.
Oh, hello, Luke. How are you doing? Talking from Madrid, Spain. I would like to speak first about the previous one, the first one that I chose. This is my drawing. I would like to talk first about the one that I chose from another artist, if that's possible, please. I became familiar with the 6x6 project years ago through some of my students who were submitting their work to RoCo. I wasn't very familiar about RoCo at that time. I'm talking about 18 years ago. And then after having the opportunity of exhibiting at RoCo with a few other artists, that's when you, Blue, told me more in depth about the 6x6 project. And since then, I have been donating a piece of mine for the exhibition. I think it's a great initiative. I mean, being an artist who wants and tries to work within the commercial world, but also within the alternative art scene, I think it's very important to kind of help spaces like RoCo to remain alive. I think they bring an energy and a blood to the cultural ecosystem of the city of Rochester in this case. I mean, I also donate works to other places. I mean, they help to really keep the community alive and vibrant in a very democratic way. So that's the thing that really engaged me and brought me to start collaborating and donating in any year since I think the last 4 years. So anyway, I'm going to talk about two pieces. The first one is this piece. The reason why I chose this piece, well, right away I responded to this photograph. I'm very passionate about photography, although I do not take pictures. I draw. But I'm always had a passion and an interest for photography, especially black and white photography. I like images that bring some kind of contradiction, images that are not completely understood, images that open the field of the imagination of the viewer. And this is what this image does to me. I like the grotesque quality that it has, and also I like the classical quality, and I love the contrast between black and white, the value range that the picture shows. Also, obviously, when we look at images, they bring us back to our memories from the past, sometimes our cultural memories. So this picture makes me think a lot about classical Baroque European painting, especially the Spanish Baroque school of painting, which I feel very influenced by in my own personal work. It reminds me of the paintings that Velázquez and other court painters of the time did of the dwarfs, people with some kind of physical disability that used to entertain the monarchy during the parties, festivals they arranged. So yeah, so I feel a very personal connection with this image. And now I would like to talk about my own. So this is a black and white drawing that I did with etching ink on photographic paper. Photo emulsion is a black and white photo paper. Is completely, the paper was fixed, so there's no photographic image underneath. What I did is I covered the entire surface with etching ink, which for those who are not very familiar with this medium, is similar to oil paint. It's kind of greasy. And then I used a toothpick and I used a Q-tip to start rendering the image by removing the ink and exposing the white of the paper underneath. This is a little sketch. I never worked this small. In fact, I think the smallest work I have ever produced are the pieces that I have donated to RoCo. This is a sketch for a larger piece that I'm going to be doing in the near future. This is going to be a 4x4, 4 feet by 4 feet drawing. And this drawing is going to be part of a series which is called Animal Human, Humano Animal, that's the Spanish title. And it's a combination of human and animal gazes, different types of animals, humans from different ethnic backgrounds. So anyway, it was an opportunity to kind of create this little sketch and also kind of like to think about the way the larger piece is going to look like. So anyway, I want to thank you, RoCo, and I want to thank you, Blue, for inviting me to speak about my work and the previous work, and also for speaking about how relevant this type of community-based cultural initiatives are for all of us artists and society at large. Thank you.
Juan, thank you so much, and thanks for participating in Makers and Mentors several years back, and for contributing to 6x6.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, let's welcome Paul Dodd and Peggy. Peggy's there. Peggy, we can barely see you.
Myself. I just unmuted myself. Can I be heard?
Yes, Paul, we can hear you now.
Great. So I enjoyed those first two, and if Catherine is still on, she didn't need a border on that piece. And I don't see her name anymore, but I really like that one. And Juan's was beautiful. Okay, so I picked these two pieces, both abstract, and let me see if I can get it centered. It's not really centered on my screen, but the thing about this image and coincidentally the other one that I picked, they both need not that white background, because the white blocks in this piece, the one we're looking at right now, those two white blocks are just as powerful as the black blocks, but you would not know that unless you kind of got rid of the white around the background. So if this was on a gray wall or something, or this piece is a lot stronger that way. But it's abstract, and but it's also intriguing, and it's beautifully balanced, and I like it. I could look at it for a long time. So I like that piece. And I'll talk about the other one if you want to switch gears. Yeah, so this one, sort of similar. And it has the same problem in that it doesn't belong on a white wall. So that white border is kind of killing it. I mean, just the surrounding area of the 6x6 piece. So, I can't tell what this is. It's really, again, I'm picking them just as a photo and not really the artwork, but I love the way it's represented here. Whether I would like it as much in person, I don't know. But maybe this looks like it's done on a textured paper. I like the look of that. The red, I can see the weave in maybe canvas or something. And the black, whether that is the way it's constructed, it could be a step. And it's one of those things that either the red recedes or the red comes forward of the white below it. But I like that play, and I just, when I'm looking at it, it switches back and forth for me. And I love the colors together, and I like the construction. And I have no idea what it is, just like the other one, but it's intriguing, and I could look at that I could look at this one for a real long time. And I wouldn't say much more about it. So thank you for having me. That's all I have to say. Unless you have a question.
Paul, tell us about the works you normally enter in the show.
Normally?
Oh,
Well, for many years, I put these wooden blocks in that I paint. It's rough cut. It's rough cut pine from the Adirondacks. So it's got the sawmill kind of edge to it, the outdoor kind of sawmill. And so I cut two pieces. None of the boards that I had of this type of wood were big enough to make a 6x6 piece. So I cut the two boards, rip them, and construct with two pieces a 6x6. I did this for maybe 6 years or something. I did 4 each year in 2 different colors. So I guess normally in 6x6, that's what I've been doing. This year I did something a little different. I did some Jenny beer cans that I found on the road when we were, when we walk a lot. And sometimes you'll see a beer can that's been run over like 100 times. And I mounted those, they were Jenny cans. I mounted 3 of them on a white 6x6 panel. And they can be seen in this show. Probably already snapped up by somebody. But that's it.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Hi,
All right.
Peggy. And I
Hi.
want to say that I'm the proud owner of one of those rough cut pine
All right.
abstract pieces. So thank you, Paul.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So up next, the dynamic duo, Kitty and Nick Jospe.
Hey, hi. Oh, it's such a pleasure to be here and so much fun to hear other people talk about RoCo and art and see the art and hear the stories. So I wanted to do a little show and tell first. In 2018, this was the 6x6 that we purchased. And if you see, it's all glass. And it was so inspiring to me. I actually wrote a poem, and then the poem became the title poem for a whole book, which was the title that Jeff Platt had chosen for his sculpture. So he called it Twilight Venus, and then that came to be the book. So I love how art is always collaborating. And what I love about 6x6 is that you see so much creativity. And you just never know what you're going to see. I mean, 6x6 could be reaching out into 6 inches away from the canvas. What you see on the screen here is from our French sister city. And I love that he said, this is not a usual format. I had to make my own 6x6 thing. So he took linen and he cut it out into 6x6 and then glued it onto cardboard. So he had his surface, and then he started doing the painting, acrylic painting on the surface. So just a word about our sister cities. Rennes in Brittany, which is in northern France, is the oldest sister city of Rochester. And we are very pleased to be part of that collaboration, and we have hosted people, and we love going there. We were part of the judging their art show, celebrating 60 years of collaboration. And I was just thrilled that one of our sister city people said, oh, well, here, I have 3 drawings for you. So he submitted 3. And I wanted to read to you what he said about his artwork. So he said, this is Place des Lys. It's a historic square in Rennes, and it's located in the old ramparts of the city, and once was a place for jousting tournaments of medieval knights. The word lys corresponds to closed field, and since the 15th century, the square functioned as a marketplace to sell wood, and it's a site for a fair, and currently the square is used for regular markets, although not for the pandemic. So Joël, the artist, thought you might be interested to know that the current pandemic has an echo in the plague experienced in Rennes in 1624 for 6 years. And knowing the risk, 8 years, and knowing the risks and dangers, they decided no outside merchants were allowed inside the walls of the city. So the market was outside of the gates. And in time to get fresh food, you had to go through these gates. Anyway, another one of his drawings shows the Morlaix gates. These names come from the links of city to city. So anyway, that's his. The other one, thank you for inviting us to show our own work. So the other one is this one. You might recognize it's the George Eastman House. And every spring, it is so exciting because these little winter aconites spring up under the beech tree. And you can see perhaps in the background some of it. But this year, I decided to crouch down and take a to the nose picture of a winter aconite and wrote a haiku. So the haiku says, without the sunlight, you might miss the shadows curl cupped in this blossom. So that's a So a little haiku, a little picture, a little Rochester history. It just makes it fun. But thank you for, I wouldn't come up with these things without a 6x6. So I love the inspiration it provides. Now over to Nick. He's chosen 2 pieces. Well, I nudged him to choose this one.
So one of the things I would add that is so wonderful about 6x6, and I think we've been taking great advantage of it for the past 5-6 years, having things there to be seen as well, but enjoying going there and then looking for a piece and sometimes finding it and then going back a few days later, having quite forgotten where it was and then looking for it again, or because somebody else asks you, Nick, where is your piece? And you say, well, I think it's, but and so the physicality of this show is really quite a unique feature. Anyway, this first piece caught our fancy because just for the background, I'm a physician. And so one of the things that this evoked for me immediately was a sort of the simple diagram of the female internal organs, the uterus and the fallopian tubes, and then the ovaries hanging from this little curled pipe cleaner. So I like the whimsy of it. I like the humor in it. And while I was looking at it, I was also reminded somehow of Groucho Marx, and his glasses and the mustache. And I don't know what to make of the little red knob, of course, that could be his nose. But anyway, the whimsy of this really seduced me, and it was the humor that I found heartwarming.
And can I just interject? I see it as an earring holder. So if you get the 6x6 artwork, you actually get a pair of earrings to boot, like it's an extra bonus. Or you could just have it hanging in some place. It's a little friendly animal face or a portrait of a charming cow wearing really cool earrings. So, I mean, there are many possibilities for this piece, which Nick put it well. Okay, go ahead.
And the
next one. Yeah.
The next one gave me an immediate appreciation of colors and the fun and the sense of, as you look at the mask, for example, of using either wallpaper or gift wrapping paper or some kind. But in the background, obviously, of art history is the Rogier van der Weyden portrait of a lady here from the 15th century, but wearing a COVID mask. And again, perhaps I'm not quite sure what that orange thing hanging from her ear is, but it could also be a pipe cleaner. 2 other features that really attracted me about this composition were one, the seemingly Indian face in the background a little bit, and particularly the horse. The horse reminded me of the style of Alice and her husband, Martin Provenson, who were illustrators for me of a book that I just loved in my childhood, Myths and Legends of Ancient Greece. And he drew, or she drew, or they drew the horses like this. And so that brought that memory back immediately. And so in this little 6x6, there's a lot of things that are happening. And it was a fun one to explore.
I hope we've said enough. Thank you.
Absolutely. Nick, Kitty, thank you so much. And we always appreciate your participation. And again, more neighbors on the call. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks you.
For the privilege.
All right. So we're going to pass the mic and invite my good friend, Annette Ramos, to take over. Annette, tell us.
Hello, everyone in RoCo land. Annette Ramos here, Executive Director of the Rochester Latino Theater Company and a community activist. I just want to speak a little about RoCo to begin with. RoCo has been near and dear to me. First of all, if you know Blue, you know he's 6 foot, whatever, tall, lanky, and I'm this petite little woman. So we look like Mutt and Jeff in the same room. But his unrelenting arts advocacy has been really in the forefront in the last 5 years. And I consider myself part of his army. That's right, army. I've worn this shirt at NYSCA, New York State Council of the Arts. I've worn it at the Smithsonian African American Museum, and also at the NEA. And every time someone asks me about this shirt, I get to tell them the story that racism and discrimination is not tolerable in our city. And I get to talk about how Blue took a horrible moment and really turned it into a teachable moment. And that is something that's very near and dear to me. I have quite a few pieces from RoCo throughout the years. It is always a blast to be in that space. It is one of the few galleries in Rochester, New York, where most people feel welcome. I should say all people feel welcome, and especially brown and black and artists from different and diverse backgrounds. It is a home for us. It is a place that we embrace. And I am so thrilled and excited about the work that Blue's been doing specifically with Puerto Rican artists. If many of you may not know, Rochester is the second largest city of Latinos outside of New York City, and yet we don't have a home for our art. So what RoCo offers and the relationship that Blue has been building with artists on our motherland has been incredible. And thank you, Kitty, for sharing about the sister cities, because that's exactly what RoCo does for our community. It brings international artists, it brings national artists, it brings diverse artists in. And when we are in that space and viewing the art in its reality, it's actually overwhelmingly creative. I am not a visual artist, but I can appreciate and look at the beauty of visual art. And the first piece that I chose instantaneously, immediately reminded me of some of our local artists here in Rochester, New York. As Blue and I continue to elevate brown and black artists' voices and really bring their art into the forefront, this piece just speaks to everything about being Puerto Rican, about being a Rochester Rican, coined phrase, and as well as about what my current contemporary artists are doing. So I love everything about this. I am absolutely gonna run to purchase this piece. My daughter immediately, the moment I showed it to her, said that was her piece. And that's the fun part about just being a consumer at RoCo. I can own a piece of art. And not only that, I can own a piece of someone's art history, local history, in the sense of curating generations of future artists. So this speaks everything to my culture. It speaks everything to my feeling about Rochester, New York, and about the artists in the city, especially specifically the Latinx artists. We can move on to my next piece now. So I immediately fell in love with this. Culturally, every Latina should have a cock and a witch in her kitchen. A rooster, that is, of course, and a beautifully painted rooster. The colors in this particular painting, and I don't approach art in the sense of knowing and understanding all of the elements that go into it. This piece just spoke to my culture and to my kitchen and to my ancestors. The beautiful blue, purple background speaks to Caribbean breezes for me. The regalness of this particular rooster really speaks to my culture and how proud my people are to wear their colors everywhere and anywhere. And this is just a piece that just really resonated truly with my heart and called me home to my island breezes. I love this piece. Thank you, Blue, and thank you, RoCo, and the amazing team there to continue to open the doors of RoCo and continue to invite all of our community in many, many different ways. I look forward to going and being in that space and buying and seeing art. Wonderful, 6x6. Oh, one last piece I do want to share. One year, I had volunteered to be the coordinator to bring our little 6x6 kits out to rec centers. And when I walked in and I was greeted by the rec center department, and then I got to watch 15 youth working collaboratively, working individually, but really embracing this amazing opportunity, not only to make art in community, but then to be able to see it displayed and show art and just be part of a movement of art in our community. And those are the moments of RoCo that I will cherish forever. Thank you, Blue. Thank you, RoCo. And thank you for the amazing team that you have.
Oh, thank you so much, Annette. Really appreciate your kind words and for representing the shirt. You touched on something. I want to just take the opportunity quick to add a little texture. Now that the cat's out of the bag, we're really committed to growing substantial, outsized participation from Puerto Rican artists living in Rochester and artists living in Puerto Rico. So this is the initiative, really kind of a multi-year effort we're committed to making now in future years, so that 6x6 has hundreds of artworks representing the Latinx community here, but also specifically focusing on Puerto Rican artists, both here and on the island. So if anyone would like to join us in those efforts, please just reach out. Thank you again, Annette. And let's pass the mic to Richmond Futch.
Hello, everyone. I forgot to send in you got my paintings up already. I was going to talk about one of the paintings that I really enjoy, but I forgot to send the number in. It's 124. I can tell you basically about that image. The image is basically a drawing, which I love drawing, and it kind of like tells the story of how we all feel because of the changes we went through this past maybe a year and a half now. And I just love the way it just says a big story, even though it's small, and it's just it's almost humorous, but you can almost feel the feeling of his pain of this transition that we're going through. So that's one of the reasons why this particular artwork really spoke to me at the show. And also, Annette, she really said a lot that I really agree with as far as RoCo allowing. I think some of us would call us activist type artists, and RoCo galleries really allowed even myself to showcase work maybe a year ago, showcasing the homeless, and giving them a visual, giving myself an opportunity to showcase who they are and their people also. So that's why I really love the fact that RoCo really gets involved in the community. And I also run an art workshop at the homeless shelter. And a couple of years ago, a few of the guys and one of the ladies sent in some 6x6 work to the show. So that was a big plus for them to be able to do that. And they didn't realize they can have their artwork in a show. So that was a big thing for them. So now I'm gonna talk about my work that I did. I want to give you a quick background on it because the only way you can understand it or appreciate what I'm trying to say is that when I was a young boy, I used to read a lot, and I used to read to escape my environment around me. So it kind of was like my life, and books was everything to me. The two books that kind of like stayed with me, that it kind of like basically a metaphor for my life. Every time I go through a change, I think about the message in that book. The first book I was really stuck to me all through these years was Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And the big sentence in that whole book that really stuck out was, as best laid plans of mice and men often tends to stray. And I think about that every time I plan out something for my life and it doesn't happen the way I thought it would happen. So my mind goes back to that particular book because the characters in that book really spoke to me. And the next book that really spoke to me all through these years was A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickinson. And that basically is about intrigue, secrets, lies, injustice, death, family torn apart. And that metaphor, for some reason, transferred to what I saw in Rochester. Tales of Two Cities. And I can start with the bridge. The bridge is the bridge that goes over the Genesee River that goes out to the east. it tells a story about, on one side of that bridge, you're basically in the city. When you go past that bridge, maybe about 5-8 miles, you're into a totally different country, different world. Mostly that stands out to me is a different education system. Some of the best education schools are in the country are out towards the east, away from Rochester. But yet, when you go back over that bridge into to the city, you get a different vibe for education. Education is totally different. Laws are totally different. So that metaphor kind of like stuck with me as far as trying to give a visual image of the tale of two cities that I see that's related between Charles Dickinson's story and the Rochester story. And also what sticks out a lot is the systematic racism that is a rule of law in Rochester. And it's sad because it's like it's here and that we have to live with it and deal with it. But I used to, as a young person, I used to be angry with that perspective that we have to live with what it is now. But as I got older, I used my love for art to tell the story and to get the message across. And what I do is try to invoke conversation. And the two paintings this one that's in service right now is the color palette is built somewhat very different from the next one. But this one you can see it's also a knife painting. The colors are not really blended together. It doesn't stand out. They're not joyful as the other one is bright and sunny. This one you can see underneath, you can see dark coming through the warm colors on top. So to me, that's the one side of the tale of the city. Then the other side of the tale of the city is bright, even though it's dark on the center. It gives the impression that we're the same as the other image shows, but in reality, the atmosphere, the environment for the other side of the city that has a different viewpoint on life and in general and the culture in the city. So to me, I was trying to very hard to say that visually and with arts and with the paint. And that's my way of trying to put that metaphor into a real image. And thankfully, I'm also working on 3 feet by 3 feet, where I'm putting everything on one canvas with the same title, Tale of Two Cities. But this one, I couldn't resist trying to tell a story about what I see in Rochester as far as what my love for books and my love for learning from what I learned in the books in my past. And also, I'm trying to make the invisible visible. Even though we see it, a lot of us see it and understand it, but we still try to pretend we don't see it and it's not there. And I feel like one of the callings on in my life at this age of my life is to bring the invisible out so all can see the visible, even though we try not to see it, especially the powers and be, the powers that had the power. And I do that purposely to invoke conversation. I would also like to think that we as a Rochester community is better than this. And I know we're better than this because there's enough of us that understand that things shouldn't be the way they are. It shouldn't be two cities within one. It should be one city. And I basically fight for that. I volunteer in that field as far as my desire and love to work with the homeless community because they're people also, and they're being treated as if they're not part of the city. They don't belong in the city, and I feel like they're also a part of that tale of the two cities. And I feel very comfortable working with them and allowing them to use their love for art to express their feelings about how they feel. And my goal is making the invisible visible through art, making the invisible visible through art, and invoking conversation as I'm allowed to showcase in different galleries. And that's why I love the fact that RoCo allowed me to do that a couple of years ago with the homeless community, showing their faces. I did 40 drawings, and a lot of people still talk about that show, still talk about the people that was in those drawings. So that's one reason why I wanted to invoke my 6x6 two paintings into this year's show because this show is seen all over the world, and that amazes me. A few years back when I found out artists were bringing in art all over the world, and that gave me an opportunity to go down there and see what other artists are doing, what they're saying with their artwork, because a lot of artists are using the art medium to tell the story, to tell what they see in life. So I felt very good to be a part of that. And I want to thank the RoCo community for allowing me to be a part of the show this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Richmond. It's always an honor to have your work here in 6x6 and in our other exhibitions. Look forward to next time. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right, up next is Joe Z, and my prediction is that this man is wearing an orange hat. Something
You
tells
got
me.
it.
Something
I'm
tells
wearing
me
my
he's got an
orange
orange hat on.
There you go. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. And so is my signal going through, guys? Okay, good. I selected this piece, 2080, and I just love the simplicity of it. It's working with elements and principles and working with a sense of perspective, using what looks to me very common bits and pieces of wood, and it has that three-dimensional quality to it. I went through all 3,700. I had the privilege to be able to talk about a piece of work. Just the simplicity. I have no idea anything about the artist that made this, but I just think it's quite fascinating to look at. I've been involved with RoCo's 6x6 shows way back at the first one, 2008. I've been in every single one of them. I've also been able to have students in 3 different colleges in the Western New York area submit, some of them going to RoCo for the first gallery ever in their lives as a educator and a working artist by the variety of different shows that are at RoCo. And this type of work or this type of show helps support the vision of Lou and the staff that are there, and how they're able to reach out into the community as well with a variety of other different shows. And it's just always amazing that any piece of work in the show has a story and a very diverse group of people, artists, talented artists, up and coming artists, people trying to do things for their first time, people like me that have been doing it for many years now. I'm just so excited to see this type of thing happening. I would like to go on to the second piece, which is one of mine. And photograph. I took a minute exposure walking on the Finger Lakes Trail in Danby, New York. It's an artist retreat that I was at last year. And I'm actually in the middle of one right now. And I'm actually been making art all day. I have some things happening right now behind me. So with the COVID happening last summer, as we're still dealing with right now, I was in a relationship, and the person I was dating actually passed away from COVID in a very short amount of time. And my way to deal with it was to make the artwork that you're seeing right now. Feeling isolated and alone, but also feeling rejuvenation by walking in the woods and seeing what potentially could come of that. And I'm using a camera, 4x5, a little hole in it for pinhole photography. And I've taken right turn motor to create an open enclosure for the shutters features. So I'm sharing it with the community and the art world. And I hope at some point somebody might take interest in it to help raise some money for just continue to support the arts, continue to purchase pieces this earlier today. So excited. I encourage everyone that's listening or participating to continue to help out the staff at RoCo and Blue and Alyssa and everybody else there. So that's about all I wanted to say today. And I hope it encourages you guys to keep making the art and having a good time. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. Thank you.
Joe, thank you so much. It's awesome to hear. I had forgotten you were in year one.
I've been in every one of them.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Always appreciate your visits from students and bringing new people into RoCo. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you again.
Let's welcome Ron Pocrasso.
Well, hello. I think this is a great event. It's a challenging event. And I was noting that a square is tough enough to work with. Just putting everything within the same parameters makes an image very difficult to be anything but viewing something right in the middle. So that's a challenge in and of itself. And then when I'm working things that are 30 by 40, I'm in the process of doing a lot of different things and I have to go small. That becomes a real challenge too. So the 6x6 is challenging in a lot of ways. And I've only missed a couple since starting in about 2013. But I love when it comes around. I put the word out to other people. I don't know if you get submissions from anybody else, but there it is. So I submitted 3 pieces this year. I'll talk about those in a second. But this one that I chose, I have to say, I started looking through this collection and there's just so many great pieces that I just had to say, okay, I'm just going to choose. So I almost didn't remember what this piece was, but now I'm looking again at it and I see all these different threads and potpourri of stuff. And I would venture to guess that it's personal stuff of the artist. So there's a personal element to this piece that relates to someone's psyche, and they could have spelled out who it was. It looks like a woman and she's hidden behind all that stuff. Color-wise, it works. Everything in the composition seems to point towards something that's active and moving, and my eye doesn't stop one bit looking around the piece. I'm only sorry that I live 2,000 miles away because I won't be able to see the piece up close. But congratulations, I think it's a terrific piece. The other piece that I chose to talk about is one of 3. And this one depicts Mirko Pilashenko. Mirko was my first drawing and design teacher when I was a student at Brockport. And he, along with several of my other mentors, attended a mentor maker show that I was invited to by Robert Marks in 2012. And here's a photograph that was taken from that show. And as you can see, there's 5 people there. I'm in the middle, and Mirko is on. Well, I can't tell if it's right or left to you, but he's the one in the red scarf. And next to him is Jack Wolski, and then Bill Stewart is next to me, and Robert Marks on the other end. Now, this was taken in 2012, and sadly, 3 of these people are no longer with us, and they all passed in the last year. And that would be Mirko and Bill Stewart and Robert Marks, all passed since the last 6x6 exhibition. So this year it was very easy to choose what to do for my 6x6 entries. But I want to talk a little bit about what happened as a result of doing this last year. Last year, when I started making works for the 2020 6x6, it was early March, and we were just learning about COVID, and we were starting to shelter. And I didn't think too much about it, but at the time I thought I got to get on the ball and get my 6x6 images in. So I grabbed this photograph, and then I looked through all the collection of photographs that I had, and I started doing drawings. I did 3 6x6 drawings of 3 of my mentors from Brockport. Robert Marks was one, and Mirko was another, and Jack Wolski was a third. And those are my 3 entries into the 6x6 last year. As I was working on those drawings in early March, and as I'm learning about COVID and this idea of sheltering in place, I'm thinking we're going to be here a long time. And not only was I spiritually involved in relating to the people that I'm working with while working on these drawings, I was very intimately involved with having a relationship with them as I'm drawing from them, from photographs. I'm working very intently on a 6x6. And I did all 3 of those portraits. When I finished those portraits, I decided, you know, I think we're going to be in this a while, and I'm starting to miss a whole bunch of my closest friends and my family. So I started doing portraits of all of them. So this short drawing period that I did to make the 6x6 evolved into a whole series of portraits that involved most of my close friends and family and people who I hadn't visited in quite a while. And I was loving the drawing process, and I had the opportunity to visit with them. But there was a catch. In our local paper, letters to the editor kept saying how Santa Feans are great about wearing masks, but we're missing the smiles on their faces. So, okay, here's an idea. I'm a printmaker. I photograph the portrait, the drawing portrait, and make a plate from it. And as a result of making a plate, I can print multiple impressions. So I started printing impressions of Robert and Mirko and Jack. And in fact, I fashioned them with a mask. So this became the evolution of that project. There's Mirko with a mask on that is basically made by printing the same portrait on top of a piece of fabric and then cutting it out and assembling it onto the faces. This was all a result of a 6x6 project. And here is a portrait of my friend Lou, or the mask of Lou. There's him next to his portrait. So I also manufactured masks with people's faces on it. So this whole project of masked portraits is going to come to an end on July 5th, when I have a big party here in Santa Fe. I have over 30 of these portraits, and we're going to all unmask. So it became a project as a result of my participation in COVID in RoCo 6x6 last year. Now, this particular portrait, you saw the portrait of Mirko, so I just used that. And I happen to have this poster. This is from a show that was done in Brockport in 1970. And it was Mirko's drawing that inspired me to do the background to his 6x6 portrait for this year's project. So everything leads to something else. The way I run my life, the way I lead my life, one thing leads to another, and I never know where I'm going to end up when I start on something. I have a saying that is, if I knew where I was going, I'd be lost. Kind of like what Richmond was saying, the best laid plans of mice and men. Regardless of how we plan, things don't always go the way we plan, and sometimes they go a better direction than we plan. So the whole idea of working on these portraits evolved to something that became huge. And I'm grateful to RoCo for all that you do and for the way you've treated me over the years and having my relationship to Rochester. In fact, I plan to be in Rochester in July for a memorial for Robert Marks. And I hope to come by, and maybe some of these 6x6s will be left. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ron. We always appreciate your participation and long-standing involvement here at RoCo. We'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Up next, Ray. Welcome, Ray.
Hello, I'm Ray. The first work that I'm going to be talking about is 2253. I love the color tones that they use for the portrait, and even just like the portrait angle. It kind of reminds me of a work that I did for the members exhibition like a couple years back, because I just love do-rags, and I feel like they have such a cultural relevance in Black culture and have formed like cultures and just generations before us with the significance of do-rags and the purpose of do-rags, and then just to have the flowers and add that like touch of femininity to such a masculine portrait face is just really beautiful. And I love how they use the material that they work with. I don't know if that's like an oil pastel or if it's like color pencil, but they did very, very good job. I just love the color choice also, like the soft pinks and the bright pinks, and the interchange of the pinks with the flowers is just really, really nice. We can go to the next one. And then this is a work of my own. I think this is the second one in the series that I did. I entered 3 works this year, and I really just wanted to touch base with the first 6x6 that I'd ever done, which was originally some trees just like uprooted and like growing out the ground. I can't remember what number it was, but I think it was from like 2015. And I was like, wow, that'd be cool if I could just like go back and bring that back in my newest piece. So I did, and I also put in my boys, which are like a caricature I do. And I was just like, oh, what if instead of trees growing out the ground, it happens to be them growing out the ground? Because, you know, we all grow in different ways. And I feel like with COVID and everything in the pandemic, like we've all definitely tried to find new ways to grow and improve ourselves within the circumstances that we're in, whether they be good or bad. And really just figuring out the little things that really make us who we are, and trying to get back to the original root of like who we are as people, because I feel like we are all really forced to slow down a lot, and really forced to look at ourselves a lot from a different perspective, and really tap into who we are as people. And through this, I definitely was inspired by my growth within the past year and years prior, and just like looking back at old work a lot and just being like, wow, I've really like grown a lot since this. And it's like, oh, growth, this is like an ongoing theme. And I just love the dirt mostly. Like I just love texture, and just to be able to show that rawness, but also still show the smooth lines and the crisp line work is just always important to me. And I love this piece. I think it turned out really well. And helped me just think about and analyze a lot of what's happened within the last year, even from my 6x6 from last year. Made me think a lot about how much has changed within my life and with the people around me, and the circumstances. And I think that this piece really shows that. But I'm grateful for 6x6. I love that I get to do this every year as like a little way to just like do something fun and give back to a gallery space that has definitely done a lot for me as an artist, allowing me the space to show my work and to talk about my work. And yeah, I'm just really appreciative.
Ray, I want to chime in and thank you for always participating. And I also want to go ahead and take this opportunity to make our little announcement. I'm thrilled that we're going to have your work here in October. We haven't listed that up on our website yet, but it will be coming very soon. So Ray's going to have a solo exhibition in our lab space in October, November. So that's going to be wonderful. We're thrilled and honored to have your work here. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
All right, up next, another dynamic collaborative team, Erica Bryant and Rajesh Barnabas.
Hello. Rajesh is coming. He's a little delayed because he's actually running for office and has a lot of stuff to do. But I will start with mine. Thank you so much for having us. We're really, really excited to be able to participate and talk about why we like the 6x6s. And this one that I chose, I can't even really say what I love so much about it. It just reminds me of a dream. And in my own artwork, I get a lot of inspiration from dreams, and the blue exclamation points that are upside down flying across these people's field of vision just captivated me for some reason. So I saw that and I picked it. Rajesh, you can come and sit in the camera with us. We're together, we're a couple. So can you go to my next one, please? And this one, I chose this because there's a Zora Neale Hurston folklore book that I read through, and it had a story in it about Uncle Monday, who was an enslaved person in Florida. And the slave catchers were running after him and he was trying to escape. And he was backed up against an alligator swamp and it didn't look like he had any option to escape. And he said, well, I'm gonna just try my luck with the alligators. And so he transformed himself into an alligator and went and just lived in the alligator swamp for eternity, I guess. And this, for some reason, this bird picture made me think of Uncle Monday, and it made me think of a person that had turned into an animal and was just extremely strong and tough and had a lot going on. So I felt that there was just a lot of personality and spirit in this piece of artwork, and I loved it. And I'm hoping that it doesn't sell so I can get it. Right. So I'll pass to Rajesh.
Oh man. Okay, so over the past year, I've been delving into a lot of short sci-fi fiction and putting my mind there. And so this reminded me of a short story that I had listened to. LeVar Burton has this that used to do Reading Rainbow, now does adult podcasts where he reads short science fiction. And so Erica actually hit me to this. And so we'd listen to these stories at night. And this was one of the many where I would be listening to it and Erica would fall asleep way early after everything had, after like the first couple sentences, or it was vice versa, I'd fall asleep. But this was a short story called Exhalation, I think. And it's by Chiang, I think, hold on. Ted Chiang, and it's called Exhalation. And it reminded me because basically the whole world they didn't need food to eat. They just needed air, and lungs were interchangeable. So people basically like lived forever. And they got their oxygen supply from underground because apparently overground, the air was contaminated already. So it's this whole new genre of cli-fi, which is climate fiction, where it kind of predicts what will possibly happen to the climate, taking into climate considerations now. And so this is where my head has been for the last like year. And this picture totally spoke to that, as far as like not being able, not being able to breathe the air around us. So, all right, that's enough for that one. And then this one, I just thought was well, obviously, like I looked through pretty much scanned through all of them and looked through all of them. So this was just amazing to me. The fact that, and this is related to kind of expression today, where we're getting to the point where vocal cords are kind of removed from democracy, and people think they're able to speak, but if they speak against certain ideas or controversial matters or challenge the system, they're sidelined, or they lose their job, or they're not elected to office. There's some things you just can't challenge, and that would be like capitalism, that would be the military-industrial complex, that would be inequality, the rich having so much money. And so this is kind of I like that the fact that like the mouth and the nose and different senses are actually like blurred out. And it kind of went along with the previous one I had picked, where people aren't necessarily human, they're turned into automatons for a capitalist hungry system. And so I was reading, and this is the last point I will make about this. There's a really interesting essay by Karl Marx called The Fragment of Machines, where he talks about how our economic system turns people into machines. Basically, we become appendages or fragments of a mechanistic system. And that all kind of started and snowballed from Taylorism, and how he had stopwatches in the factory and tried to make work so efficient, and he took the art away from living and work. And so this is like people becoming robots for a higher, for a machine that perpetuates itself no matter kind of what we do. So it's kind of dystopian, but and I think the picture expresses like that, the lack of democratic expression, the lack of human expression. And I don't know, hopefully the artist was, on board with this analysis, but hey, it's something else I want to say about like art too, is that Edwidge Danticat said, as soon as you put it into the world, it's no longer, she said, the words are no longer mine, they're the audiences, they're however they interpret. So I'll take liberties in interpreting these things, and hopefully get a pass from the artist in really spinning these in a dystopian direction. But that's where my mind has been this year, along with hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, but hopefully a better world after the pandemic comes out. All right, and I will say I am I am running for office too. So elect for Rajesh. Peace. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Erica. Always great to see you too. If anyone's seen Rajesh's campaign signs out there, they are absolute works of art. They're amazing. And I think he's taken the campaign yard sign to a whole new level in Rochester. Future elections are really going to have a tough time one-upping those.
Blue, can I give one more reference before I go?
Sure.
Just 5 seconds.
Sure.
There's also a short story called The Machine Stops that was written in like the early 1900s, and that's been highly influential in kind of my analysis here. So people should check out both Exhalation short story and The Machine Stops by Ian Forrester, I think is the author. Thanks.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Rajesh. Up next, Peter Monicelli, another 6x6 veteran. We can hear you, Peter.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I got something that popped up here. Wait. Can you hear me now? No.
We can hear you. Oh, Peter, you muted.
There. Now?
Yes, now you're good.
I'm also wearing a RoCo shirt in honor of RoCo. I just want to say that first that for me, the best parts of what you have accomplished is to connect people who have studied art with outsider art, with people who are making things because of the fact that you have generated so much interest in doing 6x6. People who would never make anything if it wasn't for the fact that you started this show. And I personally am so grateful to see, 8,000 pieces hanging on the wall, and they're from both professional artists, outsider artists, and from just neighbors and friends and people from all over the United States and probably the world. Now, about this piece, I think that this was done by an outsider. It's a photograph. And what I think it is frost on the window of a car windshield. And I absolutely think it's what abstract expressionism is really about. And I just absolutely love the piece. And I'm going to purchase it if I can get in there, because you can't put red dots on anything, right? And I think that we're beginning, what you've accomplished with the 6x6 show is the fact that people are beginning to see art in different ways than they ever noticed it before. Whether it's found art like that one piece we saw with threads and stuff and drawings and photographs and all the rest of it, with things like this piece, which is done just because a person saw something that was like art to them. And I think you've accomplished that with everything else that you do down there at RoCo, whether it's international people, national people, or neighbors like us. The Rochester art scene. You show art from the Rochester art scene, which is another reason why you have so many members. And it's to your credit. Can I see the second one? Okay, what these pieces are about, and I made this one, and these are mostly called Searching for Home. And I think that people are really searching for that place where Carrie Mae Reams said, home is a place where you can smell yourself. Thomas Merton thought that home was a place where your heart was at rest and your spirit was at rest. But what's in these collages is what has happened to this place called Aleppo, because it was a city that was almost 4,500 years old, and over attitudes or whatever you want to call these things that cause wars, people have destroyed that city. And I made a whole series of these pieces because my heart was broken seeing the destruction that I personally, as starting in maybe Korea, I stopped playing war in Korea. I was a newspaper boy in 1952. And television made that war real. We saw the reality of the Korean War. And then there was Vietnam. And I protested the Vietnam War. And I would protest all this silly nonsense of just keep killing people for what? And that's what these little 6x6s are. Hopefully home isn't that. And I just hope for people that they can find the satisfaction and peace in their hearts that's necessary, that I think is necessary, that fills your walls with 6x6 pieces, hoping that you can keep continuing, because that's what it takes for all of us to do, to have you stay where you are. You and Alyssa and everybody else in that works or that volunteers there. So I just want to thank you for the things that you have accomplished here in Rochester that I've seen change in the time that you've been here. And I want to thank you for exposing people, regular people, to make things. And I want to thank you for including everybody, blacks and browns and guys like me and women and everybody else that you've included in this whole thing from all over everywhere. There's 8,000 pieces in there. I looked at most of them. So that's what I have to say. Thanks, Blue.
Thank you, Peter. Always appreciate your support and participation here. Thank you so much. I think you're a veteran. You've been involved since 2008 as well. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Up next, we're going to welcome JJ.
Hi, friends. How is everyone today? I'm very excited to be here. My name is JJ Palahati. I am an analog collage artist here in Rochester, New York. I'm actually sitting in my studio in the Yards, and I am wildly honored to be sitting on this panel today talking to all of you folks. For those of you that I have not met before, I'm so excited to be here. For those of you that I already know, what's up? So the first piece that I decided to chat a little bit about today, I didn't pick any collage pieces. Normally I go toward the pieces that I know or like or that I'm comfortable with, because all day, every day on social media, most of my art friends, we make collage. And so I picked something that was a little bit different. I wanted to do like 3-dimensional pieces. I believe the other one as well. But when I meet new folks, new artists of any medium, the first conversation that I like to have with them is, what do you think is good? And that conversation can last 5 minutes or it can last 5 hours, because good resembles taste, and taste is unique. It's idiosyncratic. You know what I mean? And so like for one person, some piece of art that might be good relies on qualifications that maybe I don't have or other folks don't have. So in terms of what I wanted to point out and chat about today, I picked pieces that elicit joy in my own heart and in my own tummy. And so I picked this one. Being from a tattoo culture, the Great Wave is an iconic symbol that you see in a lot of tattooing, especially Japanese tattooing. And that's what this piece reminded me of. The blue wave with all of the very unique little beads that are in there. And also I am very envious of the person who made this. It must have taken a lot of time and effort to put all of those beads in those specific places. And that shows the love and the care that someone put into that. I personally could not, with these nails, take all of those little beads and put them into place. So I am super happy for that person for doing it, because I absolutely love it. It makes me so happy to see it. Alyssa, if you could bring me to the next one, I would appreciate that. Thank you so much, my friend. So my whole life is pink and hearts and glitter, and I'm not sure if y'all just meeting me after 2 minutes can grasp that. However, everything that I love and enjoy comes from pink and hearts and glitter. And so I picked this one because this is the ultimate joy piece for me. June is Pride Month, and I love the rainbow aspect, and I'm not sure if that's what this piece was about, but that's how I view it. I think that it has like a queer angle to it, and I think that that's absolutely beautiful and brilliant, and I think we need more of that in our mainstream art culture. I love that there's glitter, and I love that there's little jewels, and just like each of the tiny little toy pieces, or in fact they might even be candy pieces, it's creating a story. And folks, I'm the type of person that when I get a bag of Skittles, I organize them all by color, because I believe that they taste better that way. And so that's what this piece reminds me of, just pure joy, candy sweet, queer loving, and just amazing. So I've been submitting pieces to 6x6 since 2018. I'm a little bit later to the game. I see that we have a lot of veterans here that have been submitting pieces since the beginning. And I'm so honored to sit here with all of you folks. I submitted a piece this year as well. It's a piece that's made of the same photograph of my dog over and over and over again. I tried something a little bit different. And also in 2018, I was able to attend one of the opening receptions, and it was wild. I loved it. There was just so many people that were so excited about art, and that made me really feel at home. And that's how I feel at RoCo every time I go, no matter what type of show is showing, no matter who's at the front door, no matter if you're by yourself or if you're in a room full of folks who just love and appreciate art. To me, that's home, and to me, that is love. Thank you everyone for listening to my little 5 minutes. Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you all have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, JJ. Always appreciate your participation. Excellent. Okay, so up next, our next speaker is Kathy Farrell. Kathy, you're still muted, I think.
Oh, unmute myself. Here we go. How y'all doing? I'm happy to be here tonight. Mainly because I'm a true advocate of the 6x6. I participated, I've purchased, I've made it an assignment. The coolest thing about it, I think, is it brings people together, brings the community together. It allows people to purchase artwork at a reasonable price and become, you know, sort of art collectors. And I send people down there to kind of look at things over the years, and it's an amazing endeavor. And I've been there to kind of watch it all go up with the push pins everywhere, and then afterwards kind of hiding the push pin holes, and knowing, being an art gallery director, knowing how the in-between, no one knows what really goes on. And you all do an amazing job. So I don't have a hat on tonight, but my hat's off to you. And that's probably why I'm not wearing a hat. So I guess I'll talk about the pieces I've picked. And lately I've been really interested in using watercolor and gouache. And these few pieces that I looked at, I think really spoke to me. I don't know if I can say that I know the artist that you're showing right now. Can I do that? I do know the artist. Can I say where he's from? Can I say anything about them? But I convinced him many years ago to be a participant in this, and every year he does. So the thing that I find interesting in this, and I'm hoping to be able to show all three of the pieces that the person submitted, because I think they really kind of go together and kind of tell a story for me. And I haven't talked to the person about it, but just an amazing watercolorist. If you don't buy these, hopefully not before I get a chance to buy one of them, just an amazing watercolorist. And the first piece here is sort of a person, you can sort of see them, and they're kind of in a cowboy hat, really kind of looking very colorful. The second piece is another individual in a cowboy hat, and you kind of see them, you know, kind of looking, for me, looking at the first person and the second person. And then the third piece, they kind of come together. So it's like a beautiful experience, I think. Maybe it speaks to COVID, maybe it doesn't. Myself, I'm rejoiced to finally be able to get with friends and finally be able to get with people. You know, now they've kind of lifted all the restrictions and people are vaccinated. This really speaks to this. This individual's from Australia, and they kind of went through the same thing we did here in the United States, and as people have experienced in other parts of the world. And I just think the triptych is just a beautiful, wonderful watercolor experience. And he chose to send these, I think, for that particular reason. And I'll talk to him about it, but I wanted me to interpret what I saw as a art educator and you know, someone who's taught watercolor and has taught, you know, illustration and whatnot for years. But I think the triptych, if you purchase one of these, it's not going to work. You're gonna have to get all three of them. And it's just lovely. I mean, watercolor is tough. Watercolor is hard to accomplish, and to be able to do this in, you know, three little sequence, almost like a sequential display of coming together, or finding each other, or finally getting together. I sort of see this as a message about the world finally being able to get back into the place they were, and I find it rejoiceful. So that's why I picked this one. So I guess we can move to the second slide. I apologize for taking up too many slides. This one really speaks to me again because it also is a watercolor. I don't know who the artist is. I have no idea, but it's available. I'm going to purchase it. And it's nature, getting back into nature, looking at nature, looking at the idea of like, homesteading, looking at the idea of, just, having chickens and having like a space for chickens to live and not being penned up, not being in a chicken factory laying eggs. I think it's a beautiful little watercolor. I'm hoping to meet the person that painted this at one time. It's just a lovely, beautiful approach to showing what we should get back to like nature, get back to like the idea of homesteading, getting back to like having neighborhoods that mean something, and not having to go to like a giant factory that has this type of thing going on, bringing the earth back to where it should be. I think everybody that's experienced this whole pandemic is rethinking, let's hope, about what the world should be and where the world should be going. And I worked on a farm when I was a young person, and that's how people made their living. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I see it's sold, so I'm out of luck here, but it's just an amazing little piece. And thank you to the artist that did it. I can't wait to see who they are, and I want to shoot them a letter or an email to just say, I just think it's a very lovely piece. So there's my bit. But I want to thank RoCo for doing this tonight and getting people involved, and hang in there, because you're important to me, you're important to the Rochester community, and now a global event that it's important to keep going. So I hope you keep it going. I hope you keep it going there, you RoCo people. Blue and the gang.
Thanks, Kathy. Really appreciate it. Always appreciate your participation, and we're going strong. We're here to stay.
All right. Let me know if I can help.
Up next is Laurel, and I'm hoping Laurel will tell her story about coming to an opening reception in Rochester from her home. Welcome, Laurel.
Hi there, I'm Laurel Bay, and I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I started painting in 2008 when I retired from being a CPA and a bank auditor. So it's like two different worlds for me, and I love my new world. And when I started painting, I somehow found out about RoCo and 6x6. And I was thrilled to be able to enter my paintings because I really wasn't a painter. And my paintings sold. And since then, I've evolved into the owl lady. I'm the owl painter. And I like to do owls of all kinds. And it's all because when I retired, I took a painting class, and I rode my bike to get there. And I passed a family of great horned owls. And I've been painting them ever since. And I've done things like go to the International Owl, what is it called? In Houston, Minnesota. They have a big festival every year, and I've been a guest artist there. And anyway, I love RoCo, and I love 6x6, and I did get to travel to Rochester. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe 2010, maybe 2011, but I loved it, and I've been doing it ever since, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can. And I picked artwork number 301. I have no idea what the medium is for this or who the artist is, but I saw it and I just loved it. And I don't know if it's a digital piece of art, but like some of the people before me were saying, you know, it's what you interpret it to be. And it just hit me as fun. And this kid has so much spunk and her attitude comes across. And I think that the artist just did a fantastic job. And the shapes that are flying behind her, who knows what that is? But I look at it and it just makes me smile and think about all the kids I know who, you know, they make faces like that, and it just made me happy. So that's why I love this one. And I tried to buy it, but when I got on this afternoon, it was already sold. So somebody else loves it too. And we can move on to the next one. This one, I don't know why I like it so much. Every time I look at it, it's like an optical illusion, and it's so simple, and yet it's so complex. I've even had my computer, I threw my iPad on the bed and it was from a different angle and it looked totally different. Sometimes I think the whites come forwards and sometimes I think the red comes forward. And sometimes I see arrows, mostly I see cubes or chairs, but I just love that it's so simple and so complex. And that's why I picked it. I don't know what the medium is. I don't know who did it, but they nailed it for me. And I've never really studied art, but I think there is minimalist or modern art. I don't know what this style is called or this genre, but other than optical illusion, I just love it. And that's why I picked it. And I did get to purchase this one. So it'll be hanging in my house.
I was wondering if we'd have someone talking about a work that they bought. Thank you, Laurel.
Yes. And
I have to
if you
mention,
want, my art numbers are 2, 4, 5, 3, 5, 4, and 5, 5, if you want to see my owls.
2, 4, 5, 3.
5, 4, and 5, 5. And I got an email that 5, 5 got sold, so that's exciting.
Well, I wanted to also mention a cool thing that you've been doing. Not only are you sending in the painting, you're sending some jewelry
that I make out of my paintings. Yes.
Yep, so it's kind of a double purchase you get here, and you've been doing this for a number of years. But then also when you send in the package of your artworks from Colorado, you also include a little gift for the staff person who opens the package. So I got to tell you, when your artworks arrive, they're like they're a coveted prize when we're going through, you know, thousands of little boxes from all around the globe. So you've got a real following here amongst our volunteers. So thank you for all your participation. And we just love the different ways in which people kind of utilize and twist and play with 6x6. Thank you so much, Laurel.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we have 2 more speakers. Up next is Tate, who's a longtime 6x6 participant and volunteer. Welcome, Tate.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. And yes, I think I've been participating in 6x6 since around 2010. I did grow up in Rochester, but then I was away for about 10 years. And when I moved back, I started to get a bit more involved in cool Rochester stuff. So neither of the pieces I'm going to talk about are mine, although I do give a piece, at least one piece every year. This year I did a small little cross stitch piece. And in past years I've done cross stitch and I do Ukrainian Easter eggs. That gets a little complicated though, because it's so 3D, and I felt really guilty that Blue and his team had to like build a shelf for it. So it's cool, but a little bit complicated. But anyway, I loved this piece, and there's another one, I think it's the one before or after, that are basically these I assume little pin cushions. They look 3D. I can't tell for sure, but I think it's a pin cushion. And it just reminded me of this past year. I have so many friends and myself too doing so much cool artwork. I think being home all the time has really given people an opportunity to either pick something up that's new to them or have time to do, some kind of craft or artwork that they've always loved doing and just have more time to. So I just thought this was such a cool piece. It looks handmade. It looks like something they just, had some fabric and threw something together. The other reason it kind of spoke to me is for a couple of years now, I've had this monthly meetup with some female friends of mine that I call Make and Do. And we just would meet in person at my place, and whatever people were working on, they could bring. So that could be art, that could be, I had somebody one time bring a sleeping bag, like they showed up with their sleeping bag, and I was like, this isn't like a sleepover, right? Like this is just a 2-hour thing. But she was bringing her sleeping bag so she could bend it. So she had, her thread and all that. So that has always been very cool. I've been doing it for a few years, but this past year I turned it into a Zoom meeting, and it really has like sustained me and, some of my friends to just have the opportunity once a month to meet up and work on whatever it is we're working on. So usually I'm doing a cross stitch, and actually I wasn't planning on showing this, but I just realized that it was on the table with me. So I am going to show it because I just today finished this cross stitch piece. That is the first cross stitch piece I've ever made for myself. I always make them for other people, and I finally made one for myself this year. So anyway, this piece kind of made me think of all of those things, just the handicraft artistry that's been going on over the past year has been really inspiring for me to see. And you can go to the next one. And this one similarly, I mean, it looks like embroidery, but obviously it speaks to a lot of what's been going on over the past year. I tried to be as involved as I could over the past year here in Rochester with the Black Lives Matter movement. I wasn't comfortable protesting, but I loved the fact that RoCo and Blue were collecting supplies for protesters. So I was able to, donate a bunch of stuff, and I just love this piece because it's gorgeous and it has this life to it that some of the other folks that have been talking have kind of mentioned in their choices. But it's just gorgeous. I wish that I had bought it. It has sold, and it is not me that bought it, unfortunately. But it's gorgeous, and it just reminds me of what we've been through over the past year in the other sense. So in one sense, the pandemic, and then in another sense, all of the political upheaval and reckoning that's been going on, and awareness that's been growing, I think, in a really wonderful way. Obviously, so much more to do and so many more things to change, but I've loved seeing people getting more involved, especially in the Rochester community. So those are my two picks, and I don't remember the number of the one I made, but if you're looking around and you see a cute little, actually it's an owl, I think I made this year, a little owl cross stitch piece, that's mine.
Thank you, Tate. So grateful for all your participation in the past, and hopefully we'll get you back in here to hammer in some push pins next year. You've been a great installer over the years. Thanks for everything. Okay, up next, we've got another dynamic duo and our final speakers, Allison Zero Jones and Willa Jones. Welcome.
Hi. Hi. Sorry, I'm eking in here. How's it going? This is awesome.
Welcome. Tell us about your artworks.
Well, I picked both of them, but so I'm glad that kids get to join this program, and I just think it's a really fun thing to do. I sadly couldn't do mine this year because I was just so busy with things happening around with COVID. And so I have chosen this piece because I just like how all these different things can just clash, like, and these are some of like, I like these things because they're sweet.
Yeah.
I think like it has a really like vibe, like a good vibe to it, and I think it makes me happy.
I love that.
I love cake and
me too.
Like sushi and candy and pizza and ice cream. And so yeah, I really just think this makes me like feel like it's like me because it has a lot of things I like.
So great. Yeah, that's awesome. Popcorn and panda bears. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, this one.
So this next one, I'm glad I got to buy it because it just gives a really good child like vibe, and it makes me think of like things I do when I'm bored or something. Like I want to like play some music or dress up or play with like dolls. And so
yeah, that one was cool too because it popped off of the wall and the artist took care to sort of decorate the borders of the piece. It just felt really complete too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're short, so we had to look up way, way high up to get a good look at this one. But it was neatly placed too. It was right above the door to one of the spaces at RoCo. And it just seemed fitting that this girl would be sort of, fiddling you into the space. But yeah, this one was really cool. This is a good pick. Willa picked all of these. We spent a lot of time sort of figuring out which ones were the top picks, but yeah, this one was rad. Yeah.
So Willa, are you going to participate next year?
Yeah, definitely. I just so busy with COVID. So
You could start making them now for next year.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. Willa, do you have anything else you want to share about this artwork?
I think I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Cool.
Good job.
Good job. What a great wrap up. Thank you so much. Allison, do you have anything you want to add?
I just want to say, as I was thinking about this, in looking at the artwork on screen or in person, I love that this space and this project makes art accessible to everyone. And it gives budding young artists a space to view and display their work that feels very legitimate and appreciated. And it's nice to bring young talent into the fold with such experienced artisans. And it really brings a sense of community through art. And I think it's rare to see in so many other environments. And I'm so appreciative that it exists. And actually Tate DeCaro, who is on here now, was the first person to introduce me to this awesome project over a decade ago, I think. So thank you to Tate, and I'm grateful for everyone sticking around and supporting RoCo. And we just love it and think the world of the gallery and sort of the joy it brings to Rochester.
Awesome. Thank you. As I was listening in to these, I mentioned before, I'd like to say a couple quick remarks and then we'll call it a night. As I was listening in, I was thinking back on how we envisioned this series of talks going, almost a nod to what it's like at an opening reception when you walk around and you overhear someone talking about their favorite, or maybe your guest is telling you about the artwork they made. But I really think that what we've hit on today is like just the tip of the iceberg of all of the connections and all of the different ways in which the thousands of artworks here teach us about people we know and we don't know. It's literally the tip of the iceberg of all of the stories, connections, and community that are built through this exhibition. And for us, I know I'm speaking on behalf of our team here, it really feels so cool and so uniquely human to be sort of like the conduit through which all of these stories can flow into RoCo, and people can connect over an artwork, or they can tell someone about an artwork they saw, or they find an artwork that's made by someone they knew 10 years ago, or et cetera, et cetera. And I think tonight we just saw the wonderful diversity of ways in which people connect through this exhibition. So I know that I'm so grateful for everyone's participation and time. And, we had 20 people speak today. I think that there are literally thousands of stories embedded in this exhibition. And over the last decade, we've connected, thousands of other people through this project. So it's an honor to put on this exhibition. It's a ton of work for sure, but it's an honor to be that conduit and connect people in such a real, genuine way. And I also think we're just really privileged to have a fundraiser that's effective, but also really genuine and cool and fun and human, and fits so well within our mission and supports everything else we do. So we're just so grateful. I'd love for Alyssa, if you wouldn't mind putting up that screen again. I wanted to just draw everyone's attention back to our supporters. These are some of the individuals, families, and large and small businesses that make this exhibition possible. We've got media partners and underwriters and supporters at all levels. And we just couldn't do this exhibition without these supporters, without volunteers, without artists, and without all of you, coming together to tell your story. So thank you for sharing this evening with us. And we look forward to seeing you down here on East Avenue during our summer gallery hours, Wednesday through Sunday, 12 to 5, and Friday nights all summer will be open until 9 p.m. Please come and visit us. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.